Welcome to the No Limits podcast with your host, Willy.
Yeah.
Okay, this is episode number 11 with Jeffery Wilson, a friend of our Truth or Theory podcast show. He's a fellow truth seeker himself, and you probably know him from the Conspiracy Forum with Pat Miletich. Him and Pat host that show, and they do a great job with it. Welcome to this podcast, Jeffrey.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it, bro. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited to talk to you. I feel like we really clicked on the Truth or Theory podcast. You're a very down-to-earth, easygoing guy to talk to, so I really wanted to get you on this podcast, which is got no format whatsoever. It's just people hanging out and talking, sharing stories, and shooting the shit, man.
I like it. I like it. It can't all be fire and brimstone, right?
Yeah. So we probably won't go as deep on this one as we would on a Truth or Theory or the Conspiracy Forum.
Oh, no, it's quite all right.
But we can go into whatever subjects we want. I know you're a fellow classic wrestling fan as well. I'm freaking wearing a old school Macho Man t-shirt right now.
Ooh, yeah. Nice. Good.
Oh, yeah. He's the man. Macho Man. So what were you, man? Were you a WCW fan? WWF? Did you go back and forth?
Well, I mean, man. Well, I'm a little old. I don't know how old you are, but I'm a little longer in the tooth. So I first got the taste, the Superstation, Channel 17, Georgia Championship Wrestling. And then obviously that morphed into World Championship Wrestling. But at the same time, I would see a lot of the shows. The USA Network had a lot of the shows from Madison Square Garden back in the day. Salvatore Bellomo, the fucking Samoans, just old school cats. And then when I would go down to visit my cousin down in the Louisville, Kentucky area, they had, Memphis wrestling. You know what I mean? Macho Man Randy Savage. That's one of the first places I saw him. And then, I was a huge fan of every Saturday, dude. I would lunch. And I would go to the Dairy Queen, buy my hot fudge sundae for 65 cents, and there was a Walgreens right next door. So I'd sit there and just read Wrestling Insider, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestlers, all the wrestling magazines, all up until about 4:30, because I live right next to the mall, so I would walk my ass home, and then wrestling would come on at 5:05 on the Superstation, dude. So, yeah, I was pretty dedicated as a young man.
That's awesome. I'm actually older than that, man. I go back to when it wasn't even on TV. TVs weren't around. And they acted it out on plays in the Renaissance.
Damn, that's back there, bro. You age well, man. You age well. What's your secret?
Thank you, brother. We'd take a wagon down to the wrestling event, and they would perform on stage.
Nice.
And then everyone would get beheaded that lost.
Oh, snap. That's gladiator type shit.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy back then. No, I'm only 36, but I got into it in middle 90s. I probably started off as a WWF fan with WWE now. It was like right before Kane and all that got in there, kind of later in the game. But I go back and watch all the old school stuff because we weren't allowed to watch TV much growing up because I grew up in kind of a cult. And that's
kind of a cult.
Yeah, I grew up in a cult, man, for real.
Another podcast. Really?
Yeah, it was the church itself was called the Worldwide Church of God, but
oh God, I heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't in it, but his grandparents were super in it.
Dude, it was an intense religion, man. They it had a lot of Jehovah's Witness and Jewish type beliefs kind of mixed together. So we weren't allowed to celebrate birthdays, the main holidays. We weren't allowed to eat crustaceans, pork, all the dirty meat, all that kind of stuff. It was intense.
Yeah, no, I remember that, man. There was a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's been years now, but yeah, I do remember hearing about the Worldwide Church of God back in the day.
Yeah, our logo was the little boy next to a lion and a lamb on like a gold seal in a circular farm, and then it said that the Worldwide Church of God. And there was a lot of us, man. We would they had this thing called the Feast where we'd in summertime we would all travel to a certain location as like kind of a vacation and then a gathering for fellow church members from different locations in different states to kind of meet each other and learn more from the higher ups in the religion. And that was kind of our Christmas because we would get these gifts called the feast gifts, which sounds like some vampire shit. Because we weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas or that stuff. So that's why my theory is why I'm still an overgrown kid. I'm 36 years old, but I still love Halloween. And unfortunately, I'm not a big Christmas guy. Probably a little bitterness there. I don't know. My kids love Christmas, but I try to put it on act
Well,
for
who
them.
doesn't? When you get like, gifts festooned upon you. Even though I'm not particularly religious, and I mean, obviously, there's no guy coming down your chimney and all that shit, but obviously, it's supposed to celebrate the birth of Jesus. I mean, I always enjoy whatever that Christmas spirit is. Like around those few weeks, it's just people are maybe it's just my own perception, and I'm just overlaying that on things. It's just people just seem a little bit cooler to each other, just a little chiller. I know people still get killed or whatever, bad shit still goes down, but it just that has that vibe, which is even more unfortunate because literally on fucking December 26th, everyone is back to being like full on pricks, and you can just feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, dude. The whole Christmas vibe thing, I get that same vibe too. I just don't enjoy it as much as everybody else. Because another thing is, you grew up in the Midwest. I'm sorry, I didn't turn my phone sound off. The Midwest.
That was mine.
It's much prettier for Christmas. You have like the traditional seasons in Iowa and Illinois. Louisiana, it's just a freaking swamp bowl of humidity.
With some Christmas lights on it. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
I mean, especially back in the day when we were kids. I mean, I don't necessarily buy in the whole global warming things. Of course, climate does change, changes the immutable law of the universe. And we're seeing it a little bit more in here in the Midwest, but there was a time when fucking, snow was just, I was sledding off my roof into drifts of snow. It was just, snow was everywhere. But that kind of changed where we have, as I was getting, late teens and early 20s or whatever, you would just have Christmases that weren't, any snow at all. I've been living here in St. Louis about 15 years, and it was like almost 70 degrees here at Christmas this year. And it was nice, but it was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to have that,
Yeah. Damn, even up in
So
St.
at
Louis,
least
it's still
the
warmer.
temperatures. Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of weird. Obviously the climate is just kind of wacky anymore. But we still get our share of snow, and so does the upper north and Minnesota and Iowa and shit. But it's just not as much as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that my kids get to grow up with that. 'Cause now that we're in Colorado, they get to grow up in the traditional seasons and have Christmas like their mom did. Because their mom, my wife, is from the same area as you, up in the Quad City area. So it's good for them.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, my oldest girl is absolutely obsessed with Christmas, and she would turn the whole world into Christmas world if she could. And I'm the Grinch.
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, as we get old, I mean, it is such a very childlike, whimsical holiday. You know what I mean? It's just, from the movies and Frosty. I mean, it's just all very, childlike, if you will. So I definitely get, how kids embrace it, especially if they're getting a bunch of presents and shit. That's the cherry on top.
Yeah, for sure. And my mom did go out of her way to sneak our birthdays, so we still had really good birthdays growing up as kids. It just wasn't advertised.
Sneak in, yeah. There you go.
If social media was around, it wouldn't have been posted on MySpace or Facebook.
Right. That changed everything.
Yeah. It is crazy thinking about how much life has changed just since smartphones came out. I've been dwelling on that a lot lately, and it's so strange. Like I was watching Waco on Netflix. We just started that series.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I haven't. I heard about it though. I started for a hot second, and I think the first episode starts out talking about the Ruby Ridge situation, and I somehow I got distracted and just didn't get into it. But yeah,
Give it another chance. We're on episode 3, I think, out of 6, and it's getting good. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the reason I went into it because I saw there was a Unabomber one that Netflix did, and I was just like, all right, I'll watch it. Someone told me to watch it. Dude, it was so good. It was so good. So I mean, Netflix, they can produce some shit. So yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Well, I got to check out the Unabomber one because I haven't seen that one yet. That's a fascinating subject for sure.
Oh my gosh.
There was a scene on the Waco show where these two guys are just talking in like bunk beds in the same room and like getting ready to go to sleep. And I was like, just that scene like made me get kind of a flashback. I'm like, damn, people used to actually just kind of wind down in bed before they go to sleep and just chill and talk and whatever. Nowadays, everybody's on their phones up until it's time to go to sleep, and including myself, I'm guilty of that as well. It's such a strange thing to think about how we used to spend our downtime.
Yeah, and over a very short period of time, it's changed it. But obviously that's not this necessarily this show, but all of that is kind of by design to kind of disconnect us not only from other humans, other human interaction. Everybody texts anymore; they don't talk. And, it's an extension of, I think, what they're kind of moving us towards, this kind of transhumanist meld between man and machine. You got Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan show talking about the neural link where, no, man, if you're a paraplegic, we'll just get your limbs working again. If you got Alzheimer's, we'll get your thoughts back. And, what I mean? They sell it to you very benevolently, but of course there's a lot of kind of dark shit going on with all that. But yeah,
That's
crazy world,
shit
man.
To think about. Turning the cyborgs.
Yeah. Well, and that was, they were Terminator, that was in the mid 80s. And that was kind of one of the beginnings, the Jetsons and Buck Rogers or even Star Wars. It's just kind of has this undertone of, what we now know, AI and, quantum computing and all this other stuff. So, like anything else, I don't necessarily hate on the technology so much, even though it is kind of spooky. I think it's just who's rendering it, who's utilizing it, and to what purpose.
Yeah, it's like that with everything. Everything is awesome until it's utilized for the wrong purposes. Guns, internet, everything.
Precisely. Guns are great. If you know what I mean, it depends on who's holding it, who's wielding the power.
Yeah. Let's go back to wrestling now. Let's keep it lighter. From you and I are some rabbit hole seekers.
It's crazy. I haven't even really, it's been as children of the people like Dusty and all those guys who I used to kind of remember, like Undertaker just retired. I remember him, he was in World Class back in the day as Mark Callis, and then he went to WCW as Mean Mark Callis as one of the skyscrapers. So as all those guys kind of fade away, and even just wrestling in general, it's not even really wrestling anymore, it's sports entertainment. It's so diametrically different than what I was really raised on. And that's fine, you know what I mean? It's as things change, some things aren't for everybody. But it's like I don't even really mess with it anymore, man. I don't know if like half the folks are. This kind of happened maybe over the last few years. It was just like, 46 years old, it's not a problem to get over professional wrestling because it's so different than what it was. And it's like, like everything changes. There were rumors for decades that wrestling was predetermined and fake. They kayfabed it, as they call it. You know what I mean? They were very much so into the kayfabe and keeping it on the lows, like that secret society type shit. But, Vince like, nope, this is all fake. Just really shat on the discipline, if you will, of keeping kayfabe, wrestlers staying in different hotels. And, Mr. Wrestling 2, who just died, like, was invited to Jimmy Carter's because they were both, obviously Jimmy Carter's from Georgia. Mr. Wrestling 2 was a huge fan or huge cat in Georgia because of Georgia Championship Wrestling. And he was invited to Jimmy Carter's inauguration, but turned it down because they said he would have had to take his mask off. That's dedication, bro. That's dedication. So it's not even like that in any way, shape, or form anymore. That's why I really, as I do get older and you kind of, a lot of the shoot interviews I really, really dig listening to. I would have sucked listening to them back in the day when I was sort of believing, but now, obviously as older and you get to listen to like a Jim Cornette or a James J. Dillon or any of these old school cats, man. I'm good friends with Manny Fernandez, who was actually one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. The Raging Bull Manny Fernandez. Shout out to my boy. But cool. It's almost like hanging out with a magician. They're like, hey, man, here's how we didn't really cut that bitch in half. Like, here's how we did that shit. And it's just like, oh, fuck, dude. And even just, obviously what we saw on TV was the presentation that we all bought into. But like behind the scenes, hearing the behind, man, did you realize that we go backstage and Roddy Piper and this guy have Ric Flair bent over shoving hemorrhoids back in his ass. It's just like, what? You know what I mean? Just these random stories of the business. You know what I mean? We saw the show, and that's not necessarily just the business, but these are kind of behind the scenes stories. But the business side of it, who didn't want to put who over, the politics and all that shit, man. It's really heavy, man. I mean, it's not really heavy, but it's just interesting to hear, why Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard jumped to WWF and Dusty Rhodes, why he jumped to I mean, it's like, did you know, not many people know this, but did you know Ted DiBiase's bodyguard, what was his name in the WWF? Do you remember?
I could get it out of multiple choice, but
it was Virgil.
Virgil, okay.
His name was Virgil because Vince was clowning Virgil Runnels, who is Dusty Rhodes. This is before Dusty even got there, right? This was the mid to early 80s. And when Ted DiBiase and Virgil went to WCW, what was his name? Vincent. So Dusty, they were clown. You know what I mean? It was just some inside haterade going on. That not a lot of people know that shit. A lot of people do, but not many folks know that was kind of the inside baseball on that. But
yeah, dude, I've been going down a rabbit hole of that stuff lately. The old school, the back and forth behind the scenes shit on YouTube is so fascinating. There's so many good stories out there.
Oh my God. Especially from like your Jim Cornettes, your James J. Dillons, the cats who were there, you know what I mean? Some of them still kind of kayfabe a little bit, but it's just, I'm a territory guy. Like I said, I was raised when the territories were around. So just hear these stories from South, you know what I mean? In early WWF, which, Capital Wrestling, Vince Senior shit. I mean, just all of it's just so very fascinating, man. So very fascinating. It just came to mind. I interviewed Bruiser Brody's widow on my original podcast. I was a huge Bruiser Brody fan, so to be able to talk to her and kind of get that kind of inside baseball on him, and it's just huge, man. It's just really cool to get that kind of insight, to go from like a fan, kind of Mark fan. I mean, I'm still a Mark, but I'm just saying to get, I'm not. It's beyond the show where you're like, wow, man, that's. Name it, the Harley race driving freaking 120 miles an hour between town to town, and the people who rode with him, their job was to just crack open a beer after a beer. He shouldn't even have to ask for it, you know what I mean? It's just to be there. It's just rowdy shit that you're just like, wow. You would ask yourself, why didn't more die? But a lot of them did die. Some of it was some, whatever, deaths due to misadventure, and obviously, others are just, that lifestyle, man. You're fucking. I was listening to one today, Jim Morton, his what's up? Oh, broke up.
I started to lose you. Yeah. What'd you say? I was listening to, and then it went out.
Jim Cornette. I was listening to one with Jim Cornette talking about Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express, and he was like, Ricky Morton only slept like 15 minutes during the 80s. I mean, it's just that world. Like, you can't even imagine really going from town to town, and you're a freaking rock star in every town. And
yeah, those guys always got challenged by tough guys in bars too, there's some funny stories in that shit too. So,
in which one?
All the wrestlers as they travel, I've heard so many stories of different guys getting challenged by meatheads in bars that are.
Shawn Michaels during his time. Shawn Michaels got fucked up really bad. He got jumped by like 4 or 5 Marines.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I've been watching a lot of old school stuff, like from early '80s up until the middle '90s of different things that were going on around that time. And he had a match with Owen Hart, I think it was, and he blacked out during the match, and it was actually part of the whole shtick of his mugging with the Marines that he got beat up by.
What is that? Well, I've always heard that was a work, and they played it in because it was spreading. The news was spreading that he had gotten beat up. But I had heard I remember that when he fell out in the ring, and because usually, I mean, when people are really fucked up, if you notice each time, the referees will throw up an X, and that means like real talk, like fucking real shit's going down. So, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't real just because of that, but I mean, it's usually. But see, that's the beautiful thing of it. Here we are, fucking 20 years later, like, no, that shit was real. No, dude, that wasn't real. No, I'm telling you, it was real, dude. He got beat up, blah, blah, blah. That's the beauty and the art of those guys being able to do that. To like tell those, utilize more psychology, which now it's just kind of a lost art. Now it's just a fucking high spot fest. It's just like, how many times can I flip around? How many fake finishes can we have? I'm going to hit you with my finisher like 10 times, and then finally I'll fucking pin you. I mean, come on, dude. Mr. Wrestling 2's finisher was a fucking high knee lift. My boy Manny Fernandez was a flying forearm. Barry Windham, the superplex. I mean, just like less is more, dude. I mean, I know we can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle and try to make it seem. Well, I mean, there's an art to it too, kind of suspending people's disbelief. We go see Jurassic Park knowing the fucking dinosaurs aren't real, but we're still like, oh shit, goddamn, I didn't see him coming. So there's an art to it. So, and it's a lost art. That's why with a lot of these shoot interviews, the territory days, the hundreds and hundreds of miles they would have to drive together, that was sitting under the fucking learning tree for a lot of these kids, dude. If you're driving with a Harley Race or a Dusty Rhodes or a Blackjack Mullet, I mean, Wahoo McDaniels, you are fucking learning, dude. And if you're not learning, like, geez, riding around with those guys, you'll never learn. But now they don't have that opportunity, really. It's so different, and all of those guys are kind of fucking dead, and there really is no emphasis on kayfabe. Johnny Valentine always said, you may not think wrestling's real, but I will make you believe that I'm real. And that's a lost fucking art, man. That is a lost art.
Yeah. You mentioned Barry Windham. I just found out last night that he is the uncle of popular wrestler nowadays, Bray Wyatt. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And his dad is IRS. I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, Mike Rotundo. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know any of the modern guys. I know very few of their names. I haven't really watched wrestling since 2005, 6 maybe.
Oh, wow.
So I've completely lost the whole thing with I don't know who the hell is what anymore.
I would have to say, man, my last hurrah, if you will, even though I peeked in on it, but my last event I went to, one of the last big WWE events, because I still check out a lot of the local shit here. SICW Wrestling, Herb Simmons, Dynamo Pro Wrestling. So there's some great. I mean, St. Louis used to be the headquarters of the NWA back in the day. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. But one of my last ones was a Survivor Series they had here, and they surprised everybody with Sting, dude. And there's even
one of my favorites.
There's a video of it, dude. I was shooting it when it was happening. Like, my octave changed. I was freaking 12 again. I'm like, oh my fucking god! I lost. Great. So that really upsets me to see how the WWE did Sting, but. I mean, he should have been in the WWE way longer, way before. But yeah, for him to come out like that, the fucking pop was just like. But yeah, that was I don't know how long ago that was, like 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, that's when I kind of punched out, man, because it was just I don't know, I don't even the psychology's not there. It's all too bright and shiny. Everybody's so cookie cutter. Everybody's jacked. Everybody's you know what I mean. It's like. Yeah. Like a Mr. Wrestling 2, the guy was a badass, but he was this little portly looking man baby looking thing. I mean, it was just like I don't know. The aesthetic was just different in a different time. How they could make you still believe, even though they didn't look like action figures, that they could whoop your ass.
Right. I was trying to explain it to my wife recently because she's like completely confused by my obsession with the old school wrestling while all the YouTube I've been watching. She didn't grow up with that shit at all, and she doesn't have
get it. They'll never get it.
She doesn't have a clue about any of it, and she's used to watching MMA with me, and she's like, what are they doing? They're not even hitting each other. I'm like, I can't explain to you. Okay? Just go make me a sandwich.
Dude, I mean, for real. And that's, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's not obviously not for everybody, but I mean, right. Some people can be still entertained by like, oh, wow, that's great athleticism to flip around and do all that, which that shouldn't be what sells it anymore. Like for me, I'm just kind of grandfathered in, and because I was fucking blown when like Buzz Sawyer's fighting Tommy Rich, and I mean, dude, Georgia Championship Wrestling was so dope for me back in the day, and then just all of that, so I was hooked. That's why as everyone kind of started dying off and retiring, etc., there was very little semblance of my childhood that wasn't selling me. So I'm just like, I'm all right, I'm good. We had a good run. But yeah, like I said, I was able to announce a couple matches. I was a ring announcer for some local stuff. So it's like, I mean, the bug's still there, and I still love like local old school kind of wrestling. The old school promoters. My guy Herb Simmons, who does SICW, he used to work really close with Bruiser Brody, still his wife, and so yeah, I mean, those kind of cats are people who I still fuck with.
Yeah, that's cool that you get to be still a part of it like that. It feels like the modern wrestling is just kind of all like really good athletes, all with really good bodies, and there's kind of a generic factory making them all, and they just don't stand out like they used to independently.
Yeah, it's simply fine. Yeah, I mean, because again, whatever. People might talk. I mean, the psychology is just not there anymore. I mean, you're never gonna really 100% believe again because it's what it is, but the wrestlers are telling us the story. We're not telling them the story. It's their job to, at least in some way, shape, or form, make us fucking believe. And between the promos and even the matches, you can tell such a fucking amazing story in a match. But again, it's just high spot after high spot. Let me get my shit in and all these fake finish. I mean, it's just, man, let it breathe a second. Everyone's doing their shit. Oh, it's like, fucking chill out, man. But again, that might have to do something with, our ADD society. We just want it like that now. I mean, what's his name? Joey Ryan or something like that. The guy who does the dick spot where the dude grabs his dick and he does a move and flips over grabbing his dick. I mean, it's just like, that's why Jim Cornette just fucking raised, because it really just shits on the business that he spent 40 years building. And like I was saying earlier, it just shits on cats who spent and sacrificed a lot to make people fucking believe that shit's real.
Yeah. I've seen a clip of the dick twist slam thing, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Familiar. Okay. Yeah.
And then they got this Orange Cassidy cat now that puts his hands in his pockets.
Joey Ryan, though, he's getting hit with all these sexual allegations now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even Jim Cornette got hit with some shit. Him and his supposedly it was when whatever. Him and his wife were requiring favors in order to get certain spots and this and that. Which I mean, I don't know. I have no idea if it's true. I don't think it is.
Oh wow.
But
what's next? Val Venus and The Godfather? Come on, people.
Yeah, no doubt.
Leave him alone.
Pal Penis, dude. I love that guy, dude. He was great. The Attitude Era. And then the Monday Night Wars. I mean, that was just, I mean, come on, dude. I remember I worked at this restaurant back home before I moved to Chicago and then down here. But I would get off work on, what was it? Was it Monday? Yeah, the Monday Night Wars. Duh. And so I had TVs everywhere in this kind of restaurant, and I would have these two TVs, one in the corner on WCW, one in the corner on WWF, and just sit there till whatever, 10 o'clock or whatever, having a couple beers and watching fucking wrestling. And then like the crowds, people like would come and get off work and come, and it was kind of an event. But yeah, the Monday Night Wars were the shit. Yeah,
dude, that was the pinnacle of my fandom in wrestling, was the Monday Night Wars. And man, that shit was so much fun. The DX versus NWO and everything, all the tension they had. Both of them were on point, and it was just so exciting to watch. And then they came up with the Thursday Night Wars and brought Thunder in and SmackDown and all that shit.
yeah, Thunder. That was like the knockoff shit. But yeah, I mean, that's fascinating to see how like Eric Bischoff, who we had on our show, me and Pat had another podcast called Everything Combat. We had Eric Bischoff on, and it's so fascinating to see those. Yeah. His podcast is called 83 Weeks, and that's just the 83 weeks that WCW was dominating WWE and the ratings. And it's just crazy how they fucked that off. You know what I mean? They were so obsessed with taking Vince out, they just weren't building new stars like WWF was. Around that same time, Stone Cold was coming up, Undertaker was coming up. They were kind of developing new shit, whereas WCW was spending hella money on Macho Man, Scott Hall, Nash and Hogan. And I mean, that's a lot of dough. And the cats who were really, really kicking ass, who wound up going to WWF and kicking ass, Chris Jericho, Guerrero, they just
Mysterio.
They were Mysterio, exactly. It was all this political game. So whatever, you live and learn. But it's very fascinating to me how they were just on the top of the mountain and just so grossly mismanaged it. You know what I mean? And just how it went away the way it did. It's really unfortunate because the history and the lineage is so rich. And Vince went in and bought it for fucking peanuts, literally for peanuts. And the real money in the bank, no pun intended for him, was the video library. He got that whole video library and then wound up making the network from it. And I've obviously made his money back freaking however many times. But it's just so crazy. I remember Chris Jericho was saying, when I heard how much they were selling WCW for, I was like, fuck, maybe I'll buy it. Get some people together and buy it.
Wow.
Because it was like, I could be talking on my ass, but it was like 12 million or just something stupid small. It wasn't anything. But what he was really paying for, like, fuck your rings and TV rights, because they didn't have whatever. It was more about the library, that video library, which, like I said, has paid itself off 10 times, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's merchandise too, everything too, huh? That's a lot of
everything,
memorabilia and shit to acquire.
Yeah.
The rights to all
absolutely.
That. There's a lot of money in that shit, I'm sure.
And just from watching shoot interviews, Jim Cornette was like, at the WCW offices. He went and visited there one time, and I don't know, for some reason got in the alley or near the dumpster, near the garbage. Boxes and boxes and boxes of old film, dude. Old, like early 80s, mid-Atlantic, because that's what, WCW kind of really started from Mid-Atlantic in Georgia or whatever. Jim Crockett Promotions, basically. I mean, you're talking about cool Johnny Valentine and fucking Wahoo McDaniels, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair. They were just throwing away. And Jim Cornette that's all that shit up, dude, and wound up collating it and editing it and throw it and digitizing it and sells it on his website, dude. I mean, that could have just been gone forever. But yeah,
wow,
such as life.
That's crazy, man. Where did you go through a phase when you were younger where you thought you were going to be a wrestler, a professional entertainment wrestler?
I don't think so, man. I was always scrappy, and I still am. I mean, I was a really tiny guy, dude. I amateur wrestled. What was it? 90 pounds in 7th grade. And 112 in ninth grade. So I was just small, dude. I was super, super small. Unlike now I'm all jacked.
Oh.
Actually not. But no, I mean I was just super, super tiny. But no, to answer your question, I mean I caught it in that early, and it was out of me kind of really by the time I was partying and hanging out with girls and shit. You know what I mean? I was beating the shit out of pillows when I was younger, dude. And I wish I still had it, dude, because Magnum TA was my favorite cat back in the day. So the U.S. title for me, it was all the race for the U.S. title. Fuck the world title. It was the U.S. title for me. So I made my own U.S. title, dude. It was so dope, dude. It really was so dope. I mean, I put fucking hours into that. Like, it was really, really fucking dope. But no. I mean, and looking back on it, I'm so fucking glad I didn't. I mean, there's the road life, the lifestyle itself, people are away from their family for so long. They're just a tear on your body, having to stay gapped up on. I mean, Arn Anderson on the Four Horsemen DVD, it's like, being a professional wrestler or professional at anything, but being a professional wrestler is getting on that fucking plane at whatever, 6 a.m. with 103 temperature. Or hungover or whatever. I mean, that's like shit right now. We're like, boss, I can't come in. I'm fucking party too hard. Like you just don't do that, right? I mean, there was so many different things. Even hearing all these stories that these guys tell, it's like I wouldn't want to deal with that, And yeah, and like I would have had to get on some form of GOP, some form of gas to get, and I would have looked like freaking Eddie Guerrero with like muscles coming out of my eyes. But I mean, I'm 6'1". They look for 6'4", 6'5", these fucking monsters. So yeah, to answer your question, so no, I don't think I ever would have wanted to take the bumps, as they say.
Did you have a persona that you thought you played around in your head with it? If I was to do it, I would be this guy.
No.
This would be my finishing move.
Oh no, my finishing move was the flying burrito, the flying forearm, dude. That was my shit, dude. He called it the flying burrito. Don't call me racist. That's what he called it. And Tito Santana had the same shit. It was just a dope move. Less is more, dude. It looks really cool. You throw him against the ropes, you get that charge going, boom. And it's, but my persona nowadays, because I call into a lot of my good friends, the Wrestle Talk podcast with my boy Renee and Joe, and even with Herb Simmons, I'm Jay Hollywood, dude, because I'm an actor. I've been on some shows. So like I kind of use my persona as Jay Hollywood now. And I've actually been talking to a couple of cats about doing some managing, dude. Not, just going back to days awesome. Gary Hart, dude, who just had a team of assassins like Abdul these guys who didn't talk on the mic, right? So they needed somebody to be like, you don't even want to fucking see what this man will do to you. You know what I mean? So just people, a stable of assassins who need somebody to have a voice for him. So Jay Hollywood Inc. is helped bring him to the pinnacle and to the top of the mountain. And even if not the mountain, to collect that bounty, dude, because that's what it's all about. Man, we're like the wrestling version of Blackwater, dude. We're just some fucking hired contract assassins.
The art of the manager, man, that's something else that's forgotten. That was such a great era of great managers. Jimmy Hart being the leader, probably.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they don't have as many anymore. And I even talked to like some, Herb, and there was like they're just not used how they used to be used anymore. Now it's more kind of female. Well, even that's gone, like the valet, but. And a lot of these guys can kind of talk for themselves. So I wouldn't want to be somebody talking for, in an odd, comparison, James J. Dillon, who was the head of the Four Horsemen, who was still very essential, but he was talking and not four guys, but all the four horsemen could all talk. You know what I mean? All of them were very good talkers. So I mean, it wasn't redundant. It still kind of added prestige to that group. But like like my boy Herb was saying, it's like most managers now want to get themselves over instead of their talent over, and I get that, and I see that. Whereas I'm like, no, I want to come in as like the fucking, I'm the liaison, but you don't talk to my killers, dude. Nobody talks to my killers. I sign the contract or the bounty and do do the talking for the cats who do their talking in the ring type shit. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out, dude. I'm talking to a couple of cats, and if things get back to normal, we might be seeing some J Hollywood Incorporated locking some shit down.
That's awesome, man. J Hollywood, I like it. And your flying burrito finishing move.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And that's what I wound up meeting Manny Fernandez, the Raging Bull, when he came to town for SICW. And I think we had already talked before that because I had him on my podcast. I had him and Ricky Morton on my podcast. It's Me Speaking to You before I met him. I've had on like Kamala and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Bob Backlund. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, to like hang out with him and kind of get those road stories, dude, because he was a fucking madman. And to like hang out after the matches and drink beer with fucking Manny Fernandez, I'm like, bucket list, dude. One checked off.
So cool.
There, yeah.
I like how you worded it earlier. It's like hanging out with a magician. You can see all the behind the scenes stuff and the reveal stuff. It's pretty funny.
It's really hard to go back to even kind of believing. I mean, obviously we know it was, even when we were kids, we knew it was a work, but it was like they suspended our disbelief. They were so great at it. Mm-hmm. But now, obviously being a grown ass man and knowing some of them and talking to them, it's like, it humanizes them, right? It's just like, hey, you're not the Raging Bull. You're Manny Fernandez. You're whatever, divorced twice, not literally, but just like, you wind up getting to the human being of it. And it's like, man, I don't even want to talk wrestling anymore, dude. Are you all right? Like, fuck, dude. Like, it's like, but it's cool though. It's cool. And that's why it's cool to have like YouTube. Before this, I mean, my mind kind of works differently now since all this shit's been going on. It's just kind of stress related, but a lot of my turning my brain off and winding down outside of like the conspiracy farm and shit was always like late night binges with wrestling, old school shit, between interviews or just like rewatching matches, rewatching angles, just whatever it is. It, obviously there's a nostalgia aspect to it, which is like you just forget about the crazy shit going on in the world. But it was just fun. You know what I mean? It was just super entertaining and fun, and it also reminds you of that lost art and how today it's just like, man, you guys. Of course, they're probably making pretty decent money doing what they're doing, but it's like it's just different. It's just different, and it just watching shit like that. And not only being reminded, but if you have a wrestling mind and know about wrestling, even if you weren't around then and you watch that, like, holy shit, that's way different than the shit we see today. Because they could sell it, dude. They were masters at it. It was a tried and true art, man.
Especially Ric Flair, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And like, he super lived the gimmick, dude, which is, has its high and low points, obviously.
Who's your favorite tag team of all time, if you had to pick?
Oh, Road Wars, dude. LOD.
Oh, really? Okay.
Dude, without doubt.
Dude, mine would probably be Harlem Heat, man.
Well, I mean, different era, dude. Because when when they showed up, when the fucking Road Wars showed up, Mad Max had just come out. I mean, they were in the zeitgeist going on then. Retrospectively, it's like, oh, cool, they had on pads and makeup, but like, no. At that time, that shit just didn't happen, and they fucking came out to fucking Iron Man with smoke and all that shit. I mean, come on, dude. That's why they still call it the Road Warrior pop to this day, dude. Because that shit used to just, and then they would come in and just dominate and no fucking sell, and just like you just hadn't seen it before, and so it was and
huge too.
They were freaking ridiculous.
All yoked up.
all on that gas, dude. But then, to see them go, only the Dudley Boys, I think, have replicated what they did, obviously because the promotions are gone. But Road Warriors had NWA tag team titles, WWF tag team titles, and AWA tag team titles. Like, those were the three major promotions.
How did that work with the Road Warriors? That was the original name, and then they switched to Legion of Doom, or how did that play out?
It was the Legion of Doom, because the Legion of Doom, in fact, it was a faction. It was the Road Warriors, Jake the Snake Roberts, Buzz Sawyer, and I think King Kong Bundy, and the Spoiler, I think. So it was a crew of them. But it slowly kind of got whittled down to, I mean, and And even though, which is so weird, dude, the Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if you've seen that series, the Vice Channel Dark Side.
Check that out.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Shame on you! Turn your microphone off right now, dude. You gotta. This is season. This is season 2. You gotta check out. You gotta check out season 1 of Dark Side of the Ring and season 2. They get into the Benoit thing, Gino Hernandez, Bruiser Brody's death, the Montreal Screwjob, Macho Man Randy Savage and his gal. What was your question? I'm sorry.
I don't even remember. I'm fascinated with Dark Side of the Ring now. I wrote it down.
God damn, what the fuck was your question?
We were talking about Legion of Doom, the faction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So the Legion of Doom was one of the latest. The Road Warriors was one of the latest episodes, and they said the origin of the name of Legion of Doom obviously came from the fucking Super Friends. Meanwhile, back at the Legion of Doom. And Paul Ellering was like, literally, Paul Ellering, the manager of those guys, was like, yeah, Hawk used to watch fucking He-Man all the time, and He-Man would say, the Legion of Doom, and we just named it that. I'm like, what? Are you past what you're smoking, my friend? How do you not know the origin of? Anyway, I found that odd that Paul, and I also find it odd that no one was like, no, Paul, it came from the fucking Super Friends. It's been said in multiple other documentaries. Like, nobody did their due diligence, unfortunately. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. But, yeah, it's still a great series, dude. A great, great series.
Yeah, my wife's going to love that. Now I got a new series to watch and more wrestling shit.
Well, show her the Macho Man one first. Or just, because obviously, Elizabeth, dude, that's such a sad fucking story, dude. How she died. She just OD'd. Like Lex was like, dude, we both popped a Xanny or whatever it was, some kind of downer, and she was drinking vodka cranberries. We're just sitting there watching fucking movies, and she just nods off and just falls out. And I remember the 911 call, dude. It's crazy.
There was a lot of suspicions with foul play in that situation too, wasn't there?
No, she overdosed, man. And honestly, as we see it now from Heath Ledger, Mac Miller, you name it, like these. People don't fucking realize what they're doing with those synthetic painkillers, dude. And that's the number people realize. Like even college kids or anybody, you have like a 6-pack of beer, it gets to like 11, 12 o'clock. Hey, the party's getting going. Hey, what do you got there? I got a fucking Vicodin, dude. Do you want one? Boom. Depending on your metabolism and your tolerance, just because you drank that 6-pack of fucking beer, you could die. Seriously. Wow. And the more you drink, the more, if you take a painkiller, because it just slows your respiration down. And alcohol is a depressant, just respiratory depressant as well. So yeah, it's just crazy, man. That's a lot of, Jesus Christ, a lot of wrestlers' deaths has been due to just Tom fucking Petty died of an accidental overdose. Same shit. You get a hold of a hot pack or a hot pill and you've had just one too many, which, like I said, depending on your body's chemistry, doesn't have to be a lot. That shit takes motherfuckers out, man.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I had a memory of Lex Luger being under a microscope with that situation, or maybe that was
when they went into his house, they found like fucking CVS pharmacy in there and shit.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah, he had a bunch of illegal stuff.
Just between roids and just other shit, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate life of a wrestler, man. They're dealing with pain constantly. Injuries out the ass.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's why, I give so much fucking depth. Like, especially a Ric Flair. That's why a lot of people, as much as you think, like, man, give me the title. Dude, do you want this? The title schedule, the title holder schedule is bananas, especially back in the territory days, dude. And for him to have worked as hard as he did and then partied so hard and then be up that next day to do it all over again in fucking Australia, Japan, United States. Fuck, dude. It gives you a serious appreciation for the endurance of these motherfuckers, dude. Because, it obviously took a huge toll.
I love watching YouTube videos and interviews with Macho Man's brother, Laney.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an interesting cat. And the stories are very bizarre. What's your take on if Randy Savage and Stephanie McMahon actually had some fornications going down?
I don't even know much about it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's none of my business, and honestly, whatever. It's just not. Yeah, it sounds like, at least, to answer your question from the standpoint of what the wrestlers are saying, it sounds like there's some legitimacy to it.
Yeah, sounds like she's a man eater too.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. I could totally see that. I mean, she's cut from some fucking man-eating cloth, dude. I mean, I don't know about Linda, but I don't know how, what her thing is behind the scenes, but Vince, that guy's a freaking animal.
Yeah, that's a crazy family, man. It's crazy that Donald Trump was involved with that shit too at one point.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's in the pro wrestling, WWE Hall of Fame. That's what I try to tell people. Donald Trump taught Vince McMahon how to be Vince McMahon. He's the master of the work.
Yeah. They have what's his name? Drew Carey in the Hall of Fame, I believe, too, and they don't have Will Sasso in there, man. That's some bullshit.
Really? Yeah, they do have that celebrity wing.
They need to get Will Sasso in there, man. The stuff that he's done in there is fucking hilarious to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he actually have some matches or anything? If I remember correctly, I think he did.
He had a match against Bret Hart in WCW, and when he was very overweight, and I don't know how the hell he pulled it off with how much weight he had on him, but he just got dominated constantly by Bret Hart.
You said when he was overweight, like there was a time he wasn't?
Well, compared to what his early Mad TV days, man, he was super heavy. He was ridiculously heavy, and he's consistently a big boy for sure. But this is like Will Sasso times 2. You have to watch that clip. I'll send it to you when we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did some impersonation skits too in there. As Stone Cold, as Hulk Hogan. He's done some fun stuff in there.
He when he was on Piper's Pit right before Piper died, and did an impression of Steve, and I thought it was Steve, and Steve was pissed, dude. He's the reason Piper got his show taken off. He's the reason Piper had his fucking WCW Legends contract reneged. Like, wow. Yeah, that was fucked up, dude. That was really messed up. And which is crazy because it's like the guy did an impression of you. It's not like he clowned you or anything. It's just to go to that extreme on, especially a legend like Roddy. Like, my God, why would you go there? Why don't you tell me why Roddy would go there?
Dude, his impressions are spot on. His Stone Cold is so good.
Yeah, I'm saying the episode that I was listening to with the Roddy, I was just like, I thought it was Stone Cold, dude. I mean, it just makes sense because I think Roddy was on his podcast. I don't know. It's just like Stone Cold's on with Roddy. All right, it makes sense.
Did you ever see that clip of Jim Norton, the comedian, with Matt Serra on the UFC Unfiltered podcast? It was about maybe 2 years ago where he pranked Matt Serra as Tony Ferguson calling in, and it was like super rude to Matt Serra, and Matt Serra was like started to get like all right, man, fuck you too. you don't have to do this interview if you don't want to. Dude, it was fucking hilarious, man. That's one of my favorite clips. I'm gonna send that to you as well, too. It's so funny. Because I didn't even know Jim Norton could really do impressions, but he just kind of did just enough to make it sound like Tony Ferguson was not in the mood to be interviewed. And Matt Serra's a Long Island guy who's short-tempered and shit. It was just the greatest setup ever.
Wow. Tony Ferguson. I'd have to hear him because mostly when you're doing impressions that have to be like a very distinct, something very notable about the way they speak to replicate it. You know what I mean? It's like if you have that regular voice, it's hard to. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Tony's usually kind of quick with his responses in interviews, and he's like he's getting ready to go train. Like he's always got a quick response, and he was doing that and just kind of kept it going, and then kind of saying like, I've been asked that a bunch of times. Like, what's next? What's next question? Like, he's boiling over, dude. It's so fucking funny.
That's too funny. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I might add that clip in this episode if that's legal. I don't know what YouTube allows. That's some funny shit though. Let's talk some MMA, man. Some upcoming fight predictions. We got a fight this weekend. I'm excited about this episode's probably going to release after that episode. I mean, after this weekend. So we're going to be talking in the future. So we can talk like we saw it and then make our predictions.
Ooh, that knockout was crazy.
Dude, Dustin Poirier knocked out Dan Hookman. Oh man, that was crazy, bro. He knocked him out in the first round. Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. Who do you got in that fight?
I'm not really even too hip to Dan Hooker, but Dustin Poirier's been on a tear, man. He seemed like he's grown a lot. I mean, he got, when Kim and Connor fought however long ago. I wouldn't say it was a domination, but he, obviously lost pretty decisively. But I think he's grown from that and has looked really good, man. Has looked really good, and it's kind of weird how, almost like was Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva however long ago, and that guard changed to this new guard, and even that guard now is changing to this next guard. So, your Justin Gaethje, just some of these new up-and-comers, dude, you just never know. You never know who's going to be the next one. A lot of sleepers out there who just unproven, but going up against the Dustin Poirier, that's one of them any given Sunday type, things anyway with UFC. It's anyone can get clipped. So, yeah, but I think Dustin's looking fantastic. I could see him handling his business.
Yeah, I'm definitely pulling for Dustin. He's a hometown favorite. We're from the same city, Lafayette, Louisiana. And
yeah,
I think ever since he moved from featherweight to lightweight, he's been really, really good. I think he only has that one loss to Michael Johnson, and then he's been on a tear at lightweight. So my money's on Dustin for that fight, but it's definitely going to be a good one because Hangman's no sleeper.
Mm-hmm. The Diamond. He's my boy Theo Vaughn. He's a really big fan of Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, he basically got Theo Vaughn into MMA. Theo Vaughn's commentating on MMA is hilarious.
Yeah,
it's a funny cat.
He's hilarious, dude. I love Theo.
This is something I want to talk to you about and get your take on. Did you see all the shit with Mike Perry that he ditched his corner? He's no longer going to have a camp anymore, and he's just using his girlfriend.
Yeah, that'll work out.
Yes. Everybody in the MMA community is like, wait, what the fuck? Him and his last chick split. She used to be in his corner too, but he would actually have a camp with him. And he's been with some big camps too. He was with the Jackson Wink camp for a while. And then now he's saying that he doesn't need a corner anyway. They don't do anything for him. They just need to sit back and enjoy the show. All he needs is his girlfriend. And so this is his first fight with just his girlfriend in the corner this Saturday night against Mickey Gall, who's nobody to sleep on either.
No. Wow. So, well, that should be interesting. I mean,
that's some WWF shit right there.
yeah, coming out with his valet and shit. That's almost what it equates. But I mean, to think he doesn't need corner people to help him with shit he doesn't see. Whatever, Yeah. Hard head makes a soft ass. We'll see how that plays out for him, especially against Mickey.
All I need is Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So I don't have much faith in that fight for Mike Perry. I got Mickey Gall in that one for sure.
You never know, but yeah, I mean, to not have a corner and again to help oftentimes train the right way, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Mickey's no joke.
It's gonna be very interesting. And then a couple of weeks later, we got Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title. That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. Again, I don't know too much about. Oh, really?
Yep. I think they're both originally Black Zillions.
Yeah, Kamaru. And then that whole thing kind of went away. But yeah, I mean, Kamaru's no joke, man. I mean, man. I don't know how much of it was Kamaru was that good, or Tyron Woodley is just kind of, he's just, everyone has that kind of arc in their career. I don't know if he's hit that yet, but he really dominated Tyron in wrestling, and Tyron's really no joke at wrestling. So I definitely got my money on Kamaru Usman. He's hungry too, man. He's really wanting to prove some shit. He's phenomenally talented. Clearly, he's the champion, but he's definitely on a mission.
Yeah, if he can get past his teammate Gilbert, man, because Gilbert's hell of a grappler as well, hell of a jiu-jitsu practitioner, but man, Kamaru looks like a nightmare at that division right now. So I think he's going to be a handful for everybody in the top 10.
No pun intended, right? Is his name the Nightmare?
Yeah, it's true. It is. I think the Nigerian Nightmare.
Yeah.
Well played. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Alexander.
Well.
Alexander Volkswagen, Volkanovski. I have a hard time saying these names.
Yeah.
He's fighting Max Holloway.
What is that? What division is that?
That's featherweight, the featherweight championship.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Max Holloway, dude. Hopefully, he's my money's on Max on that one, dude. He's still pretty hungry as well.
Yeah, I like Alexander, even though I can't say his last name, but I'm a big fan of Max as well. So I'm pulling for Max in that fight. Yeah. Max is a great dude, man. His relationship with him and his son is really cool to watch. They're like best friends, and he takes them everywhere with him.
Yeah, for sure. Good daddy.
All right, man. That's all I got for MMA. You want to jump into my new 6 questions for this podcast?
Your new 6. Let's do it.
Yeah, buddy. These are just as lame, but it should be fun. Number 1. What movie can you watch over and over without getting tired of?
Man, there's so many dope ones. But over and over, though. That's the question, right?
Yeah, like it's on TBS or whatever, some fucking TV network, and then you walk in, you're like, all right, I'll watch this, even though I've seen it a million times.
Yeah, I would have to say possibly Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas just because it's so fucking entertaining.
It's a good one.
And it just has so many different chunks of just like you go on that interesting ride with them.
Yeah, I need to write that down. I don't think my wife's seen that movie. I think.
Oh my god.
Dude, when I met her,
the opening,
she didn't know any movies, so I was like, Jesus Christ, where have you been?
In the fucking whatever acid started, or we start with the bats, or I mean, it was just like it opens up like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a fucking crazy movie.
Oh, these goddamn bats.
Number 2, what's the best practical joke that you played on someone or that was played on you?
Jesus, dude. I haven't done much practical joking. Or played on me.
Not much of a prankster?
I mean, I'd have to think about it, which, I mean, yeah, practical yuck. Jesus, man. I mean, nothing really comes to mind.
We'll come back to it?
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
All right.
Let me pick my mind grapes on that one.
Search the cookies in your brain?
Yeah, check the mental Rolodex.
Number 3, if you could time travel one time there and back, which time period would you choose?
There and back?
So you got a free ticket to get there and a free ticket to come back when you're
ready. Yeah, oh, dude, I would have to go back, to like whatever you want to call it, fucking the ancient antiquity, dude, to the time when we supposedly had all this ancient technology and ancient advanced shit, the Sumerians, the Anunnaki. I'd have to go back to confirm that shit, dude. You know, were we really made from aliens type shit? I'd have to go get confirmation. I mean, there's so many I would love to do, but that definitely would be one that I would have to want to check out and report back. There's so much to all that like has changed and shaped civilization even up to this day. You know what I mean? Where'd we come from? Is anybody out there type shit? So yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking mind blowing. Can you imagine how heavy you would feel after learning that shit?
Right. It would almost, you would go back 100,000 years, you come back to 2020 AD, and it would almost seem like you regressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as we think we're so cool, fucking dummies with smartphones, like if that's true about the ancient civilizations, ancient technology, and ancient wisdom, etc., you know, then we have regressed to a large extent. But that's by design. They want to keep us limited in our thought processes.
Dude, imagine coming back after that, you know, and then you and Pat doing your episode, the next episode, you're like,
I was there, dude.
I
was there. Yeah, fuck yeah.
If you're listening to this, make sure you're sitting down.
Believe what I saw. Yeah. You ready for this, bro? Holy shit.
That would be crazy. All right. Number 4, what is something that really irritates you?
God,
what's a weird pet peeve of yours?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say there's plenty of pet peeves, but I mean, something that really kind of irritates. Well, irritates is different than make mad or anything like that. So, off the top of my head, I will just say it irritates. It doesn't make me mad. It's more irritating. It's called displaced aggression. Like if your wife or your girl had a bad day and she comes home and you become her whipping boy. Like, no. What the fuck, dude? I just made you dinner, dude. Sweetheart, come on. What are we doing here? You know, I'm the good guy. I'm on your team. Don't fucking start snapping about me about nothing because you're pissed about XYZ. So
displaced aggression. I'm going to add that to my vocabulary. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what it is. One of the few things I remember from like high school or college psychology, I think it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just whatever. That's the technical name, but just people taking their shit out on you. And it's not. I just see it. I just see it way too much. Oftentimes, too much with my married friends, because it's legal. Now they can browbeat you fucking legally, and you have to call a lawyer and spend thousands of dollars to make it stop. Whereas opposed to like a friend or a girlfriend, you can be like, you know what? Peace and so much love. I'm out.
Yeah. Fuck all that nonsense, man.
I wish you well. Yeah, life's too fucking short.
Number 5. What is an item in your home that is special to you for sentimental reasons? This is my favorite question because I love this kind of stuff with people.
My daughter.
All right.
Does it have to be an item or a person?
Yeah, you took it too heavy, man. You take it down a notch. Bring it to an item. Let's put it like this. Your house is on fire, not a living person or a creature. What item would you really be sore to lose and you try your best to keep?
I mean, since honestly, as you say that, I'm looking at one of my notebooks, which is right here, always next to my desk. Since we've started our show and other shows, I have fucking volumes of these, and this is every guest, every episode. Some notes, some thrown in notes while we're talking. It's just is the progress of the conversation, and again, just think off the top of my head because I'm not a huge thing on things. Like it can fucking burn for them. I mean, I get there's certain things that are sentimentally value. I get, but you can always sometimes. Well, anyway, you can't always replace certain things. But in my house, like I have a storage facility too with like my real shit. But just thinking about the progress that's been made and the conversations that we've been having and just have had over the years. There's just so much information in these volumes of notebooks. You know what I mean? So I really kind of treasure those because we've in my opinion done a lot and come a long way with the show and had some really heavy conversations with a lot of really heavy people and something I'm really proud of. That's
awesome, man. I got a lot of spiderweb questions from that answer. So do you guys I only listen to Conspiracy Forum. I've never looked to see if you guys do video. Is there video interviews?
Yeah, no, we just recently over the last several episodes, 4 or 5 episodes, we're also on Dish TV and Dish Network. So if you happen to have Dish Network out there and you're not a fan of the interweb, just go to Dish Communities and then search for the Conspiracy Farm and you will find our on-camera version of the show. We have some sprinkled out throughout the years, but just with us being in 2 different spots, I was just kind of resistant at it. But I mean, I think obviously we need to have an audio version, which is really from a metric standpoint where more of our listenership comes from. But I also want to have, I'm not a huge fan of YouTube, and that's really where most of our videos do go. They demonetized us years ago, and they shadow ban us and flag our shit and unsubscribe people who subscribe to us. So, that on-camera version does show up on YouTube, but we're kind of finding other platforms. Even our Dish TV stuff is linked to our YouTube channel, so we're trying to find other alternative platforms. But yeah, we do have on-camera shit as well as obviously the audio on all the platforms for podcasts.
That's cool. Well, how many pages would you say on average are you doing per episode on those notebooks?
Oh, Jesus. It really depends, man. It really fucking depends. Like the one we just did, one of our best ones and one of my favorites recently with G. Edward Griffin. I will spend hours doing show prep, so I can fill up 5 or 6 pages. And then even within the conversation, fill up another, 3 or 4 more just with Pat's talking. I want to make sure I write this down to remember to say it. Or, like you said, a spider web question off of what maybe our guest said. I want to make sure I write it down and remember it. It really depends, dude. It's a lot, though. I got so many of these fucking. No, I'm not saying like it's a pain in my existence. I got a lot of these notebooks, man. A lot.
Is that something your daughter could take in when she's an adult and read through them, or is it just kind of like in Jeffery Wilson
God.
code?
I mean, yeah, no, you would have to have your Captain Crunch decoder ring for most of it. I mean, for most of it, like my show prep stuff is pretty sequential outline stuff. And then I'll go in and maybe like circle something or put a star by something to make sure I say it, or X it out because I've already asked it. So, I mean, yes and no. Some of them are more legible than others. Some of them are just like, is this fucking like Sumerian cuneiform and like hieroglyphs? Like, is this the fucking English language? What is this?
Yeah, my writing is fucking terrible. Whenever I used to take notes a lot in the beginning of Truth or Theory, and then I got away from it. I need to get back to it because I always get a question that comes up in my head. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta ask this, and then the subject will roll away from it, and then I'll forget. I'm like, damn it, I didn't get that one point out.
Yeah, and I always, like I said, the notebook was mostly for the show prep stuff. But as we would go on, and I would be like, oh, I don't want to forget that. I would have to just like side notes of questions or whatever. So I'm very mindful of doing that because otherwise I'll get. Sometimes people are just talking so much mind blowing shit, and then I'll want to ask something, and then Pat will ask a lengthy question, and then that'll have a lengthy answer, but I'll still have this question. You know what I mean? So I just make sure. And sometimes I don't get it in just because of time restraints, or maybe he winds up answering it, or he or she winds up answering it within that certain time frame. But yeah, the note taking is definitely helpful, dude. Definitely helpful.
Yeah, I try to get JP to do that before the shows too, and the fucker would never take a note. It drives me nuts. I'm like, did you take notes? He's like, nah, man, I got it all up here. I'm like,
well, and that's commendable. Like Pat's always like, because he does the outline like from a broadcast standpoint, the format which flows sequentially. Like here's one and it goes sequentially. We bounce around like a champ. I want to be able to do that, but it's like we bounce the fuck around so much. Like it's hard to find. And I don't, again, like I was saying at the beginning of this conversation, I don't want it to sound like an interview. I want it to just be a conversation. You know what I mean? Where it's, I'll have a lot of it in my head too, but I'll also have kind of stuff just loosely laid down on the page. So sometimes it gets followed, sometimes it doesn't.
I don't have a notebook in here, so I've been writing on this fucking napkin the whole time we've been writing. We've been talking.
Whatever works for you, brother. Whatever works for
you. One side note question before we go to number 6. If you had to say your favorite episode that you've done with the Conspiracy Forum, you had to pick one, what would it be?
God, that's really tough. It's like, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie?
Favorite kid?
I mean, it's honestly one of my, of my Mount Rushmore, the one that kind of just rises above that. Because again, all of them, a lot of times I just get so much from it. But the conversations we've had, or I've had, or we've had with Matt LaCroix, Matthew LaCroix, he's the author of this book called The Stage of Time, which he mentioned me in the acknowledgments. I couldn't believe that. That was fucking amazing.
That's really cool.
Stageoftime.com. Go check him out. I've always, even going back to my Art Bell days, listening on the radio or just coast to coast, I would always love those conversations about the Anunnaki and ancient civilizations because there was just, there's so many missing answers to a lot of things that I've found to be those answers are potentially found in these origins that are hidden from us. Like I was saying, ancient technology, ancient Sumeria, ancient civilizations. A lot of that has been hidden by design for a very specific reason. So, and Matt, he's such an incredible researcher, but he makes it so comprehensive. It's not a bunch of, algebraic expressions. Like, what the fuck's he talking about? It's not trigonometry. He makes it very, very comprehensible. His books are amazing. The Illusion of Us, The Stage of Time. I would have to say Matt LaCroix is definitely at the top because it definitely helped. Like I said, as much as I've always chewed on that kind of stuff, over the years, I've kind of supplanted the chaos of the geopolitical world on top of it and just very reactive, like almost caught in the paradigm of the right, left. And, as a history guy, I've kind of understood the patterns of how these things come up, why they come up, the players involved. But when I would speak to Matt, when you hear his work, it just takes it back to this much more macro perspective and view that, for lack of a better term, the path of humanity, whether towards war and madness and malevolence or recognizing who we are and leveling up and becoming higher conscious human beings, that path was set very long ago without getting too deep into that. And so that was very fascinating to me because everything we're seeing now is just an extension of that ancient war that happened very, very long ago. And to make it make sense, just go check out. He's got an incredible YouTube channel, Matt LaCroix. His book, The Stage of Time, is absolutely amazing. And it helps it make a lot. For me, it helped make a lot more sense what we're seeing today and what we've seen over hundreds of years make more sense when I understood the backstory of it, the ancient backstory. So, yeah. And it seemed like all the other conversations we've had have fallen under the umbrella of that ancient war. So whether it's, talk about human trafficking or drug trafficking or, COVID or any of this, it's all part of this under the auspices or under the umbrella of this early delineation, if you will, of the path of humanity.
Yeah, the Anunnakis, ancient Egypt, and all that stuff is so fascinating, man. I don't know much about it. You mentioned that on our Truth or Theory episode too. I'm trying to get Matt LaCroix on ours. We had him.
Oh, dude, I can facilitate that. Matt's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That'd be awesome because we haven't had any episodes about Anunnaki, and I know there's a lot of people that want to know
Dude,
about it.
he will blow your mind, bro. Blow your mind.
Some crazy shit, man. I like that you said that too. It all kind of filters under that same umbrella.
It totally does. It takes you out of the understanding of just the 3D physical reality, because when you start talking about that, the gifts and the powers they had access to, you're talking about multi-dimensional beings. You're talking about multi-dimensional travel. You know, people are always like, why would an alien go from A to B? And I think I even probably said this on the other show, but they don't understand, like with multi-dimensional travel, you're looking at that linearly, A, zoom to go to B, where they are just A and they're just at A full time, or however you want to say it. I mean, it's just shit that's outside of our realm of thought, but it just helps you entertain things going on outside of our 3-dimensional reality.
Yeah, some mind-blowing shit, man.
It really is.
Crazy.
It really is.
All right, let's see. Last question, number 6. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
The daughters.
You have more than one? You say daughters?
I have 2 daughters. Yeah, I'm gonna be a grandpa, dude. My oldest 23-year-old is gonna be having a son here in December, so I'm going to be a grandpa.
How does that feel, man? That's so awesome.
It's awesome, dude. I mean, it's just the cycle of life, right? If she was like 13 or 14 or 16, I'd be a little, more pissed. But she's a grown woman handling her business, got herself a good guy, and it's the cycle of life, and I'm excited about it. I mean, people are like, do you feel old? I'm like, no, it's not. It's what it is. Yeah, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, obviously that's kind of the given answer. Obviously if you have kids, if anything else comes above that, you're a fucking chump. But
I have 2 daughters as well. That's not my answer. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I wish I wore a condom. Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, outside of that, from like a life standpoint, obviously my daughter's at the top of that list. But I mean, right underneath that is something I don't think people. I mean, we all struggle with. You know what I mean? Like for the longest time, I was listening to those voices in my head of like, not necessarily you suck, but it's like you're not good enough to do that. Whatever it was, you know what I mean? It's just like I kind of that's out of fear mostly. I just fear, and then listening to that voice, like, no, you're not gonna be able to fucking do that. But it just started to change when I got signed with an agency. I started booking really cool voiceover gigs. I started booking on-camera gigs. But even still, there was that kind of voice in the back of my head, because I was doing a lot of that stuff for the wrong reasons, honestly. It was more of like an ego thing, because I always had those voices in my head. I was doing these things like, hey, see, I did a Verizon commercial. See, I was on Burn Notice. But it didn't change necessarily the voices in my head, because I was still allowing fear to dictate a lot of my decisions. You know what I mean? So just over the course of a few years, man, it just took some time, and it just changed for me. You know what I mean? I stopped listening to that voice. I stopped allowing myself to be driven, my motives to be driven by fear and ego. So once I embraced that, dude, once I embraced the gifts that I feel that I had without apologizing for it, or I don't know how to describe it, but just embracing the gifts that I had, dude, and like saying like, fuck fear. I am going to do this. I am going to do these things that I told myself I couldn't do. So when I first started, it's me speaking to you, my original podcast, just similar format as this. It was a variety of guests discussing a variety of issues. And so I wanted my first guest to be Pat Miletich, and it wound up being Pat Miletich. But everyone else I told about my desire to start a podcast, what do you think, you're fucking Joe Rogan? You're not going to, everyone was projecting their fear onto me, their inadequacies onto me, because they couldn't do it, because they don't want to do it. They said I couldn't do it. And so Pat was my first guest. Wound up having him on like 4 or 5 times, and after however many times he asked me to do the conspiracy farm. So me planting that seed and believing in myself had a ripple effect that I wasn't even obviously aware of at the time when I first started doing, no one really listened to it, to me speaking to you, but I still was fucking tracking down guests: Kamala, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bob Backlund, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Pat, Boss Rutan. I mean, you fucking name it, dude. The fear was gone, dude. And once it was gone, it was like, I'm fucking unstoppable. I don't give a shit if I got 10, not literally 10, but I don't have subscribers like Joe Rogan, but I'm handling this shit like a professional. I'm reaching out through people's PR people, emails, and just made shit happen. And that's what it's about, dude. Just making shit happen. So my biggest, to answer your question, is getting out of my own way, dude. I mean, we all have reservations and apprehensions, anxiety and fear a little bit, but we cannot let that dictate our path in life, because if we do, because of not only our own voice, but people telling us we can't do it, then we're not going to fucking be able to do it. But it is in that moment of decision where your destiny is forming. Once you decide to follow your path, follow your passion, know that you can fucking do it. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some hard work. But once you start believing in that shit and you're like, fuck fear. And another huge, and I think I said this in our last conversation, C.T. Fletcher, not a lot of people know who C.T. Fletcher is, but world record breaking strongman, hugely motivational guy. His videos are absolutely amazing. I was not stalking him, but I was hitting him up forever, because one of his videos helped flip that switch with me to get me to where I am today. And so when he finally, I hit him up, and he actually messaged me. He's like, "You are a persistent motherfucker." That's why if I ever meet him, I don't know if he recognize me by face, but I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, CT? I'm that persistent motherfucker." He will know exactly who I am. But anyway, I wound up having him on my show. It's me speaking to you, and that's the only show I've ever done standing up, because I was so fucking jacked, dude. But again, and at the end of the day, I was, you fucking did it. You know what I mean? That sense of accomplishment of not, breaking not sucking your own dick of like, I'm the man. You did it. You got out of your own way, and you make shit that you made shit that you thought was impossible happen. And again, when those seeds were fucking planted and start germinating, dude, that changed the complete and utter direction of my life. And I swear to God, Pat Miletich, my boy, is about ready to fight one of the dopest boxers. They're both, older, but they're about to fight pretty soon. And I'm calling that fight with fucking Jens Pulver, future UFC Hall of Famer, first lightweight champion. You know what I mean? And none of this shit happens by accident. I helped, through the help of others, I put myself in this situation with that certain can-do attitude. And it sounds corny and kind of Anthony Robbins, but it's night and day difference of listening to other people with their inadequacies and marinating that fear bullshit and taking that fear and making it work for you and creating fucking magic. I still got a lot of work to do, and I still got a lot of shit to do, but it never would have been possible if I believed that I could fucking do it.
Dude, I love it, man. That little spiel you just did, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to use that as motivation. There's so much in there you said that I can relate to, and it's beautiful.
We all can, brother. We all can. We all fucking can. I mean, it's just, when Pat said, I'm going to be a fucking MMA champion, even his circle was like, dude, you're fucking smoking bad shit. And not only did he become a champion, his team became damn near the New York Yankees of fucking MMA teams. Everybody had the fucking gold, right?
Absolutely.
And if he would have listened to everyone else project their bullshit onto him, like anybody else, dude, family members, friends, I think it was a Will Smith movie. Just because somebody can't do it and they say that you can't do it, don't believe that shit. It was something to that effect. I'm massacring it. But again, you just can't believe not only the voice in your head, but the shit people will put on you. That's why, and I tell my daughter, it is so very important how and who you have on your team. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing. We have to recognize. Don't ever apologize for setting up boundaries and borders for people who are toxic in your field, dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because they will siphon your fucking juice and they will try to take you down with them, dude. But the right team will fucking uplift you, dude. So again, it's another thing, very important. But again, unless you think your time and energy and space is worth it, you're just gonna make I make bad decisions still too. But overall, I'm saying the people I have around me, the decisions I make, and these kind of things, I respect my time, I respect my place, my space, I respect my energy, and the potential that I have to do things in my life. But when you get around certain people who don't have that same mindset, it can fuck your shit up. And that doesn't mean you don't love them or care about them. But again, it's a frequency thing, dude. You gotta keep your frequency up there, man. It's real easy to hang on to that bottom rung, and a lot of people it's easy as fuck. Misery loves company. Yes, misery loves that shit.
It really does, man. Your rifle has a scope now, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
I'm so pumped up now. Jeffrey, damn it. I'm going to flip the table over. What question?
Yeah, but again, we all can relate to that shit, dude. We all can relate to that shit. So, again, it's just getting out of our own way, man. And whatever it is, you fucking garbage man, be the best fucking garbage man out there, dude. Don't let everybody tell you, man, you ain't done shit. You a garbage man. Dude, I'm fucking making whatever it is. I'm making a living, dude. I'm paying my bills. I don't have to be. It doesn't have to be about fucking bling bling. I'm doing real shit. I'm handling my fucking business. And if you have big dreams, dream fucking big, dude. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But that seems like the bigger you dream, the more you have people like telling you can't do that shit. You know, like I said, I never would have believed, just from it's me speaking to you, like I said, it was not a big show. But I mean, the fucking guests I wound up having on was all because I put that fucking work in to get it. And because of that, somebody like a Pat Miletich saw like, you are a fucking go-getter, bro. Let's do this next thing. We're in over 100 countries with millions of fucking listeners. And the messages I've gotten of how people said, like, you taught me to be a better fucking man. Can you fucking believe? I mean, the person who came from that fear thing is getting messages from Australia or New Zealand or wherever talking about how much this shit we've done has changed their life. Fuck,
fucking
bro.
Awesome. Grandpa Jay Hollywood, bro, taking over the scene.
Get that Jay Hollywood. It's a beautiful thing. And again, it's not necessarily ego based. Like, see, I did this. It's just when you're living with passion like that. And again, not to sound all Tony Robbins. I told this to my daughter. When you're doing something you love doing, you don't feel like you're at work, and it's not about necessarily, because not a lot of people can do that. And I'm not saying I'm fucking financially independent. We're working on it, but I'm at least doing what I love, and through that passion, man. I mean, just been moving fucking mountains that I never thought could have been fucking moved however many years ago.
That's so awesome, man. I'm proud of you, dude. You're a hell of a role model. I really appreciate it.
Like I said. You asked me the 3 words that describe me, dude. Work in progress. We all are, man. We all still have a lot of work to do. And, just doing the best, man. I put my shit on the same, whatever it is, put my pants on one leg at a time like you guys. Everyone poops.
Yeah. Everybody listening, you have to go check out our episode with him on Truth or Theory. It's episode number 33. It was a really good episode. There's a lot of truth bombs in there. Use it as a little appetizer, and then go to Conspiracy Forum if you haven't heard that podcast, and get ready to blow your damn mind. Because you guys are pros, man. That's some good shit.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I believe we're doing a swap cast in August, I think, too, huh? July, August, somewhere around there.
Let's do it. Heck yeah. I'll be looking forward to that. When I posted that I was going to be on here, Charlie Robinson hit me up and was like, yeah, those guys are great. We live near each other, and you guys were able to hook up in studio, man. Charlie's awesome.
Yeah, Charlie, he was here a couple of weeks ago for his second appearance on our podcast, and he was our very first guest, too, so we were lucky to get somebody educated and cool like that on the first chat.
Yeah, man. Nothing's impossible unless you convince yourself that it is, bro.
Amen. Damn, bro, I got to work out now. You got me all jacked up.
That's what, dude, I'm telling you, when I would come home, when I was bartending, I would come home at like 1, 2 in the morning, or even just during the day, I'd be like, man, I'm going to take a day off from the gym. But then I would throw on a C.T. Fletcher episode, dude. It would just like, boom. I'd have my fucking bag in my hand out the door, dude, because he would just do that shit to you, man. His whole thing is, it's still your motherfucking set. It's an acronym, ISYMFS. It's still your motherfucking set. He's like, I don't give a fuck what's going on with you. Not necessarily literally you're in the motherfucking set, but when you're working out, I don't give a fuck. You got one more set. You got one more rep left. I don't want to hear it. But in life, it sucks. You will get knocked down, but guess what? It's still your motherfucking set.
Oh yeah. CT Fletcher's used me a lot for body doubles, man. Just so you know. Yeah. Look behind the scenes. Oh, Photoshop.
Love me some CT, bro. Love me some fucking CT.
Shout out to CT Fletcher. All right, man. That's all I got for you. What can you plug besides the Conspiracy Forum? Where else can my little small listener group find you? And support you?
I alluded to my podcast. It's me speaking to you. You can find that on YouTube. That's the only place it's at right now because I haven't really been messing with it for a few years, but I've had a couple years. But I've had some awesome guests if you're into professional wrestling. Like I said, Kamala, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ricky Morton, Manny Fernandez, Bob Backlund, and just, a variety of guests discussing a variety of issues, man. Former NFL players, actors, just people doing the damn thing. So it's me speaking to you. It's me, SPKN, the number 2, the letter U. And then obviously the Conspiracy Farm, bro, conspiracyfarm.com. Like I said, you can find us on Dish TV, Dish Networks as well. And that's all I'm really up to, man. Like I said, going to be calling this fight here with Jens Pulver here in a few weeks. And hoping our boy Pat brings home the W. But just living life, man, one day at a time, holding on to little shreds of sanity.
Yeah.
Like all of us dealing with all this bullshit right now. But again, man, this too shall pass. And, just enjoy our blessings, man. Every day above ground's a good day. We have so much more than we don't have. Don't let this divide and conquer bullshit fuck you up. But Yeah. Life is good, man. Life is good.
It is. Keep a lookout for Jay Hollywood in the stable that's coming. What's the stable name going to be?
I don't know. Well, probably Jay Hollywood Inc., dude, you know?
Oh, shit. Oh.
Jay Hollywood Incorporated, yeah. We'll see.
I'm excited.
We're going to see. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. But the cats I got assembled, dude. Woo! Talk about a stable. It'll be on and popping.
You got me all hyped up at this episode, man. My wife doesn't know it, but there's about to be Royal Rumble in our kitchen. throw out the window.
Somebody stop the damn match.
God almighty. All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, my man. I'm looking forward to doing a swap cast down the line, my friend.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be awesome. Take care, brother.
Great night. Everyone have a great night. Peace and so much love.
Peace.